brilliant speed with vibrant service, vibrant broadband internet.
Ready or not, here we come. It's 28 minutes to 11 o'clock. It's Vibrant U time, right?
It is.
All right.
We
welcome.
are here.
Yeah.
I'm here. My name is Nathan.
I'm Jane.
I'm Shane.
We got no Bo today, but Shane is an upgrade in my opinion. Don't tell Bo I said that. but-
I don't know about that.
It's the infamous Shane.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
He's
the guy
usually
with-
behind the scenes, so pay no attention to the man behind the...
Yeah, or
curtain.
behind them Foster Grants.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, yeah,
So yeah, welcome to another Vibrant U. Thanks for having us.
Yep. Absolutely.
So Vibrant U, for those that don't know, stands for university, because this is all about education.
All right.
So we like to educate people on, internet things, of course. That's kind of Vibrant's specialty, but we branch off to different things. But today we want to talk about specifically about what it means to have bandwidth and like your Wi-Fi router. These are things that everybody that has internet uses and has, but doesn't probably understand, or at least a lot of people don't understand it.
You're
Exactly,
right.
yeah.
I'm one of them.
We talk to people every day, and not everybody, if you don't work in the industry, you're not expected to really know all the ins and outs, but that's why we like to educate people.
Sure.
So as far as bandwidth goes, so when you see an advertisement for your internet or you look at your bill and it says your quote-unquote speed, it'll usually show, 25 M or 100 MB or something like that. That's the bandwidth is what that's referring to, specifically the download speed typically. So what I like to use a car analogy myself for bandwidth. So you can think of bandwidth as like lanes on a highway. The more bandwidth you have, the wider your road is, the more lanes, the more traffic you can have at one time.
All right.
If you got a small amount of internet, you have either older internet or you just don't have a high speed. You might have a single lane highway where someone's using the internet one room, everyone else is kind of stuck in traffic and going to be slowed down and have issues. If you have like fiber optic or you have a larger amount of bandwidth, that's more devices and more users you can have on those lanes at a time. So I like to use that analogy. Maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't. Jane and Shane will use a different analogy in a minute. But when you actually want to talk about speed, bandwidth can kind of represent speed, but speed is often represented by latency, which people, almost nobody I talk to as far as customers of ours, subscribers of ours, know what latency is,
Right.
which is pretty common.
I don't either.
Yep. So latency is the quickness. Kind of, you can think of it like the acceleration of the car, how quick it's actually moving.
Okay.
Because latency is measuring how quick, if you click on a website, to go on a website, it's got to travel all the way back to the internet source and all the way back to you. And that's your latency. That's how fast your internet is. That's usually not advertised as far as what latency that number is you're getting, but with fiber, it's usually significantly faster than DSL and coax.
Right.
Sure.
And when you do run a speed test, you want the low latency.
Correct. It's a low. It's measured in milliseconds, so you want that to be quick and small.
Yep.
With fiber optic, usually it's in the single digits. You might see 4 or 5, usually like 8, 9 milliseconds, which is incredible. When you're talking DSL or coax, you're in the 30s to 100, or satellite can be over 100. Makes a huge difference. That's when you click on a website and it takes forever for that website to load, and everything seems to be laggy and slow.
Right, like if you're playing a video game,
Right.
If you hit the button and your character doesn't react right away, that's latency.
Yeah.
No. All right.
Or in the highway, you're in rush hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah. You have no
things can
acceleration.
slow down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another way to think of bandwidth is think of it as a huge water pipe. So in your home, you have, your fed water, and you have, a shower, and you have a dishwasher and a clothes washer and a garden hose and all kinds of things. If they're all on at the same time, your water slows way down for each one.
The pressure goes way
They're
down.
all sharing that
Exactly.
pipe. Yep.
They're sharing that pipe. So the bigger the pipe, the more water you can flow through that. But behind that, you need the water pressure. The pressure
Right.
would be like latency,
Yeah.
Yep.
right?
There you go.
It'd be a stronger force to move that water. So, say the difference between 100 megabits per second and 200 megabits per second is like the difference between a smaller and bigger water pipe. So let's say you have an internet package that's the 100 package. Well, your pipe can let 100 liters of water through that pipe. But if everybody's feeding off that pipe, you have 3 TVs going, and you're on your phone, and your devices are talking back and forth. that all eats up that 100. So you might need a bigger pipe in your house to feed all those devices.
That's why every house is a little bit different. Some people will have 2 or 3 users. Some people will have 10 users, and even 2 or 3 users, depending on what you do, you could still have 10 or more devices. Like me and my wife, we're the main internet users in our house, but I got all these smart home devices, cameras. Like it doesn't sound like there's a lot of people, but I can use a lot of internet because of all the different stuff. You know, just because you have a bigger family, well, if not everybody has a phone, not everybody has a computer, you may not have that many devices. So everybody's a little bit different.
Well, and what people don't realize is that when you come home and you have your cell phone, that device automatically connects to your internet.
Right.
So it takes away a little bit of juice, and you don't have that water flow coming in, right? And then if you have 4 people in your family, well, times the 4 phones behind the scenes.
Yep.
And then now you add those TVs and the streaming and then the iPads and everything else that comes into play. So people don't really realize how much bandwidth they really need because they don't know how many devices they have or what their actual use is. And then what's interesting is that the further you are away from your router, that's the wireless internet, you might not have good quality connection because it's too far away. It might be your router might be a little bit on the older side, or the device that you have might be a little bit on the older side. So there's a lot of things to kind of take into consideration. And what I learned in my job is that if you have an older house and it's full of plaster, that's an interference.
Yep.
Really?
If you have steel siding, steel roof, those are some things that are really troublesome in a house because they don't always work well. And
You
so
can kind of equate that to, like, if you have your cell phone and you're inside of a steel building, we've all lost that signal.
No,
we can't get that
absolutely.
signal.
There's one where I still lose it.
Yep.
Yeah, right out here.
And that's the same. That's what Jane's talking about. The same thing with Wi-Fi routers, because it's a wireless signal that's trying to get pushed out, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And the more walls you go through is the less the wireless really likes it. So you have to pay attention to all of that. So the speed delivery.
Yeah. So what we kind of just touched on was your internet provider. So your internet provider is going to deliver you a certain speed or package. Fiber is always going to be faster than your DSL or your coax. Those are always going to be more limited for speed. But once you get in the house, you're going to be reliant on your equipment inside the house. And that's typically done by your router, your Wi-Fi router. People think of Wi-Fi and internet as the same thing, and they're kind of synonyms of each other. But the internet is your connection to your internet provider. The router is handled by your equipment in the house. So you may have your own router that you own. Some people buy their own router, which is fine. You may have an internet router from your provider. Vibrant, we provide routers to anyone that needs a router. Other providers also can generally either lease or rent out their equipment if you need a router.
So what should you look for?
So
I'm looking for a
typically,
router. What am I going to get?
There are advantages to using one from Vibrant, for example. If you have Vibrant, we would provide one for you. Usually ours are going to be more up-to-date, newer. We refresh them every so often. And the nice thing is we can update them, and if you have issues, we can identify stuff a lot easier if we can see the equipment. For example, I know our tech team at the office, if you're using our router, they can see, okay, I can see your computer's actually not connected right now. Maybe there's something wrong on the computer side. They can do more of that troubleshooting stuff. Like if you use your own equipment, which some people do, there are popular brands out there. But then a lot of that onus falls on you. And if you're not techie, it can be a little hard for you to troubleshoot some of that stuff, You may call us and say, the internet source into your house is working, but I can't see your devices past that. So if you're not super techie, super, DIY, I probably wouldn't invest in my own, your own router equipment. I would go with Vibrance, for example.
Right.
Yeah, one of the things that people don't realize is that routers do wear out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone through several of them since way back in 2000, 99, 2000. And they will wear out due to heat because they're on all the time. I mean, they've got a little chip.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, and they're always moving traffic. So they are like the traffic cops, right? They're the ones that tell the packet of information what computer to go to or what TV to go to or what phone to go to inside your house, right? So the electronics are working 24/7, and the heat from all that working just wears them out.
Sure.
So there's that, and there's also updates that happen. There is a certain point where older models just aren't supported by their manufacturers anymore, And so there's a safety thing there for cybersecurity, right?
Yep.
So you want to make sure you have an updated router because of that as well. I personally have my own router and a mesh system, but it's almost 10 years old. And I'm at the point now where I'm contemplating, I'll probably just get the one right from that Vibrant supplies, because that's the newest technology. It's Wi-Fi 6 protocol, they call it. Mine it might be a 4 or 5 right now.
And they're not like $1,000 or anything. I mean,
Well,
you can get
they're
them.
not, but
Yeah,
they
you probably
they
could.
are.
There's a range.
There's a range. If I was to replace mine on my own,
Yep.
it would cost me $400
Right.
for the set.
Yep.
Well, I get the one supplied by Vibrant and a mesh unit. I think the mesh units, per mesh unit, we charge like $5 a month for each one.
Yep. Sure.
I can have it for many years for $5 a month, spending $400.
Yeah.
yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about doing the updates and managing it. And if it stops working, you don't have to buy a replacement. I mean, there are certainly advantages. But that Wi-Fi router, that's what's connecting all your devices in your house, your TVs, your computers, your cell phones. So it can kind of matter how far you are from the router. I think Jane mentioned that already.
Yep.
And also, like Shane mentioned, how old that is, how well it's working. It may have been wearing down. It may, at a certain point, they stop getting software updates from the manufacturer, which can be important because the router is also your first stop of security, because routers have a lot of built-in security as well.
Yep.
So, how do you know if you have quality router and getting quality internet?
Yeah.
So the first thing to do is you can do a speed test. So do a speed test, get your newest device, stand right by your router, and then run a speed test. If you are unsure, we do go onto our website, and there's a speed test that you can utilize
figure
that.
out, 'cause,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
that's-
So do a speed test, and then it'll capture the latency, it'll capture your upload and your download speed, and then walk away, go to the farthest area of your home, and just to see what you're getting at that point.
Do another speed test.
Do another
Yep.
speed test just to make sure. And it's probably going to be a little bit less because of the distance from where you are. And then in some situations, there's people that have those homes with plaster or steel,
sure.
or
Yeah.
they're difficult,
Or
or they
multiple
have,
floors and-
or they have a very large house.
Yep.
And so when that happens, that's when the mesh system kind of comes into play. And so what we look for is, just think of A, B, and C. So A is where the router is located, and C is where you need the internet to be. So we'll place another router, also known as a mesh system, in location B, which is halfway between A and C. So that way you get that extra bandwidth going out to the furthest part of your
Furthest
home.
part, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So
Something to consider too is that older routers can't handle speed past a certain point. So let's say you're buying a gig service that's 1,000 megabits per second from
boy.
Vibrant, right?
Overkill
You
for
can do
most
that,
people,
huh?
but it's available. Yeah.
Exactly. And so your router might not be able to handle more than sending 300
Yeah.
over its airwaves, right? Well, so what do you need the other 700 for, right? So
Right.
take that in consideration. But the newer routers can handle up to 700 or 800 out of that gig. Okay, but the way people do get that gig is a hardwired connection, so they have to plug their computer directly into the router instead
really?
of the Wi-Fi part. Okay. So that's something people don't really understand. So they'll call us and say, "Hey, I'm paying for 500, but I'm only getting 300." Well, that's because you're doing the speed test from your wireless device, right?
There's limitations on that.
There's
yeah.
limitations. And then your device, if your device is old, let's say you have an iPhone 8 or 7 or whatever,
Right.
it's got an older wireless chip inside it, that can only handle so much speed.
No.
right.
So there's all these things to consider when you're talking about Wi-Fi inside your home.
Right. And the router location is extremely important. A lot of people just put them in their basement and their maintenance and their utility. And so
okay,
it's
yeah.
a lot of interference at that point. So when we meet with you guys, we recommend that you centrally locate the router. So that way wireless internet is through your whole home. And then the guys that when they install it, they just walk through your house and just double check to make sure that you're getting the speeds that you're paying for.
Certainly.
And then if not, they'll recommend that mesh system. So we take care of you.
All right.
Yeah, there's kind of a lot to it, whether it's, wanting more bandwidth or trying to understand what bandwidth means, or you want your internet to be quicker and lower latency, or you need a newer router, or you just want to know if you would benefit from a different router. Can be a lot to internet, but that's why there are professionals you can call. Vibrant, we're located here in Litchfield. So if you have any questions or you want to just pick our brains or compare with what you have now, always reach out, because some people say, well, my internet's fine. It works okay. I've never really had any big problems. But they don't know how much better it actually could be, because your internet should be great. I mean, a lot of people put up with having to reset their routers, once a week or once a day. They think that's normal. Or they'll click on a website and wait a few seconds for it to load. They think that's normal because it does eventually work. Well, that experience can be much, much better. You might not even... I've had people say, well, I switched. I thought my internet was fine, but now it's like a million times better, and I didn't even know it needed to be better. So.
Right.
So when you get great internet, there's some things that can come at you, like cybersecurity, right?
Please, my age people are really concerned about that. I mean,
all right, Woody.
I hear
So
it.
next Wednesday,
right.
we are doing cybersecurity
One of your shows.
on AI, which is artificial intelligence, hackers, and scammers. So come to the co-op, Meeker Cooperative, located right by Walmart. And all the Vibrant people come out and visit us. We're going to be out there next Wednesday at 5:30, giving out snacks and non-alcoholic beverages.
Always got to say that. You don't want people
Always, yeah.
getting too excited.
Both started
It's
something
not
there.
BYOB.
No. And then if you miss something and you want to watch it, catch the replay on Facebook or the YouTube channel. Just search for Vibrant Broadband.
Sure.
And then listen every Wednesday to
There you
us
go.
on KLFD, 10:30 in the morning on Wednesdays. Any questions, give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. 693-3231 or go to thevibrantbroadband.com.
All right.
Thanks for having us, Woody.
Oh, absolutely. Look forward to it
Gracious
every week.
host again and again.
Yeah, love it. Absolutely. Thanks
All
for
right.
coming, guys.
Yeah, thank you for listening out there. My name's Nathan,
I'm Jane.
I'm Shane.
and this is another Vibrant You Live.
Brilliant speed with vibrant service. Vibrant broadband internet. Vibrant broadband internet.